Hey everyone, Shaedow here, and welcome to another Marvel Contest of Champions video. So we are back in Act 5.3, and this is 5.3.5. I'm trying to knock these out while I have the time before the next month's events hit, because once that happens, of course, I will be doing Uncollected, Master, Heroic 100% before I come back to doing any of the story quests. So this pretty much, if you've seen the other videos in this series, the 5.3.1 through 4, this is pretty much the same thing. This particular quest is all about skill champions. So anyone but a skill champion has their attack reduced by 50%. Now, I tried to speed things up. The fights are pretty simple, nothing to really concern myself with. As usual, I went in with Archangel, and the way that I like to do these is I'll go through with Archangel unless there's somebody that I know he's not good with, but I'll try to go with Archangel all the way until I can't anymore. Then I'll go in with Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, and I'll do the same unless I see a matchup that's just really good for one of the other champions. So you guys can see who I brought in. Gwenpool. I don't usually get a chance to fight with Gwenpool these days, and there's nothing wrong with her. She's still an awesome champion. It's just that I have, you know, so many other champions that most of the time get priority over her. So you'll get to see a little bit of a Gwenpool action in this quest. Now this particular fight here was very interesting. I usually don't like fighting the same champion against the same champion, but I did that in this case, and I was having a little bit of trouble with the controls. My inputs got dropped and I was just getting beat through my block. I don't know what was going on there, but it only happened one time, but that one time was enough to get me almost wrecked. In fact, if that was not a 5-star rank 4 champion with a nice good health pool, it would have probably wrecked my 550s and at least required me to heal up. Alright, so as you can see, I'm not healing up. It's a little challenge for myself. I like to try to go as far as I can without using any items and hopefully get to the final boss for the quest, and that's where, if any, I'll use revives or health potions. So this fight against Vulture, pretty simple. Didn't have too much trouble. You want to bait out his special 1 for the most part. His special 2 you can also evade. I sometimes have trouble evading that, and I'll get caught by the tail end of it sometimes. I don't know, but it is what it is. Now this was a very long fight. Okay, Ghost Rider, his damage is not the best at the best of times. And here he's taking a 50% hit. So it was a long fight, but Ghost Rider is sustainable. That heal is awesome. My build right now, I'm not running Suicides, but I am running Mystic Dispersion 5. So that's why you see me go to his L3 quite often, especially against Groot. Alright, so the fight was long, but as you saw, he was able to finish that fight with full health. So now I'm going up against Venom with Gwenpool. I thought that was kind of poetic. And Gwenpool, she is still a beast. Those bleeds of hers are nasty. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with how Gwenpool works, but when you fire off her L3, it does a little bit of damage, but what it does that is the most significant is that it puts that armor break on them. Now her bleeds and her attacks and everything are doing so much more damage. And if you can maintain the bleeds, it'll actually refresh the armor break. If the opponent is bleeding while the armor break expires, it'll refresh it. So she has the potential to sustain some really good damage. Alright, so she didn't have any problem with that Venom pool. Now I'm going up against Yondu. So I'm bringing in Ghost Rider again, and again it is a long fight. Ghost Rider is my only bleed immune champion, and when I'm fighting against Yondu, especially a stacked Yondu like this, I like to go in with a bleed immune champion. And Ghost Rider didn't have any problem really, because of the longevity of the fight, I guess, the duration of the fight. I started to lose focus a little bit. I started glazing over, and I started making some mistakes, so I would get hit. But fortunately, since he's bleed immune, I wouldn't bleed out, and because of his heal, I was able to heal back up and finish the fight in good shape. Ghost Rider is definitely a beast. Alright, so this next fight, we go in with Blade. He's making his first appearance. And I chose Blade. I haven't used him, and I knew he would have danger sense in this fight. No, he can't bleed this opponent, but that's okay, because for the most part, he can stop his unstoppable. Now, I don't know if you saw that. It's going pretty quickly, but again, I got hit with a heavy. Now, there has actually been times where I knew a heavy was coming and I actually swiped back and they did not immediately throw their heavy, and my character actually stood there and I had time to swipe back a second time and actually evade it. So I don't know what's going on, but I do know that there is a glitch concerning that heavy. Alright, so down goes unstoppable Colossus. Blade didn't have any trouble really. So now I go back to Archangel fighting Civil Warrior. And all of that armor up that he likes to put up, Archangel's not trying to hear all of that. His neurotoxins, his bleeds, his poisons, they do damage, cuts through all that, ignores all of it, so it doesn't really matter. So the only thing that I had to be concerned with is actually getting hit. But I played pretty well here. You see that he got stunned when the neurotoxins expired, and so I had to wait it out because he was already past his L2 and I did not want to push him to his L3. Alright, so now we're fighting Iron Fist. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Iron Fist is very easy to fight. Bait out that L1, bait out that L2, doesn't really matter. The only way that I was going to get wrecked here is if I lost my focus and got hit by one of his specials, or if the game decided to just hit me through the block, or, you know, parries or evades, you know, the normal shenanigans that go on sometimes here. But nothing like that happened, thankfully, and I was able to put Iron Fist away. So now we come to this crossroads, and I decided to go against Hulkbuster. So I'm like, okay, well, Archangel can cut through all of that armor that he likes to put up, and I shouldn't have any real trouble here. Very easy to fight, not a problem. You want to bait out his special one, but all of a sudden Archangel decides to stop blocking, just like what I was talking about in the last fight. So Archangel had a little nap, but it's all good. He put in that work, and so we go back to Gwenpool. Now, one thing that I did do between that fight and this fight is I did force close the game, because since the update I've had to do that. If I go a little bit too long now without doing that, the game starts getting really choppy. It did not do that before. It's making me wonder if they maybe have a memory leak or something like that in this last update. But I've had to do that, and I mean, it really gets bad. Now, in the past, we've had a problem with lag and something like that, but nothing like this. This is pretty consistent. In one day, I normally have to force close the game to reset it, you know, maybe 4 or 5 times. So I'm hoping that that's something that's not just because of the update and the age of my phone, because that's a concern of mine. I'm not able to update my phone at this point in time. So if they updated and added a whole lot of extra graphics and things like that, and my phone is now having trouble, then there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do until I can update my phone. So that'll make me a little bit sad, but for right now, I'm just going to have to keep force closing it once I notice that it's starting to get a little sluggish. Alright, so next fight up is Dr. Voodoo, who can be a pain. If he does not decide to throw his L1, his L2, I have not mastered evading that. I've actually watched Dorky Diggity Dave's video on how to evade his L2, and I haven't really practiced it. Now, right there, sometimes that happens, especially if I have a good distance. The camera angle changes, and it throws me off, and I basically just evaded back a little bit too quickly. There you see what I can do with his L2. I can't evade the whole thing, but I can evade part of it. I do not want to face him on an unblockable L2 unless I have an evading champion like Daredevil, OG Daredevil, or Starkey. Alright, but fighting Dr. Voodoo, as long as he's throwing that out and as long as the L2 is not unblockable, he's not really a problem at all. And Gwenpool was able to take him down. Took a little bit more than I would have liked, but took him down. Alright, so next up, we're going to be facing Angela. Angela is also pretty easy to fight, so I go in with Gwenpool again. And her L1 and her L2 are easy to evade. You want to bait out either one, whichever one is your preference, which one you can evade the easiest. Okay, so you can see there, in my opinion, her L1 is the easiest to evade because there's no projectile with it. The L2, you have the first part of it that looks very similar to her L1, but then you have to remember that at the end you have a projectile that you have to evade. So for most people, they're going to want to bait out the L1. But this fight went pretty smoothly. Fired off the L3, get that armor break on her, and then just basically wreck her world. And down goes Angela. Not a bad fight. Next up, we have the final boss for this quest. And it is Black Panther Civil War. You can see the nodes that he has on him. Nothing that I thought was too challenging. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Gwenpool is not a good option for this. But the reason that I did this is I wanted to kind of make a little challenge for myself to see how long I could last before RNG wrecked me. Okay, now any damage that I can do is good damage. You can see that I'm waiting. I'm not going to parry while he has that armor up active. Okay, so I'm just baiting out the special ones, watching that. Okay, now he has it out. I baited it out. Now I'm going in, and boom. That is why she's not a good option for fighting him. Next up is my boy Blade. beast mode. We're about to wreck this Black Panther Civil War. You guys know how good Blade is. You know what he can do. Even though it's reduced attack, he's about to take the fight to him. Or not. A moment of silence for Blade. Okay, so after that, my phone did survive, by the way. But after that quite annoying fight, and if you're wondering what happened there, it just didn't block. No parry, no block, no nothing. Okay. I decided to go in with Ghost Rider. Now this again is a very long fight. I had to speed it up about 5 times the normal speed, and it just got too long, honestly. When we finally got down to the end, I was so tired and unfocused, and I made one little mistake, which was all it took. Okay, you'll see it coming up here. Boom. Now what happened was I got tired and I was trying to do a little distance. After I did that L2, I didn't want to get hit by his L1, and so I dodged back a little bit too quickly. But that's okay, because Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, he went in, one hit, took him out, made him feel the pain of what he did for Ghost Rider. But anyway, that is 5.3.5 completed, and I am gonna work on 5.3.6. I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm not sure which class advantage that is, but that's gonna do it, guys. If you liked the video, please consider smashing that like button. Really helps me out. If you have not subscribed already, please consider giving me a subscription. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this video. And you guys have a blessed day.